meeting with me again.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
I'm
we had
Dakari.
some. We make it work. We found a way to make it work.
That's right. I really appreciate it.
No.
So, as you know, I'm the editor-in-chief of Verb Magazine, and I had the opportunity to see the movie. And bravo, I was surprised. I did not know what was going to happen. And I'm the type of person you don't want to take to the movies because I usually predict the end. So I couldn't predict this one, though. You had me all the way up until the end.
Thank you so much. And honestly, I'm the same way. Like my kids really don't like going to the movies with me because I can't not dissect. I'm like in the first 5 minutes, oh, that's the bad guy. That's this is, and they're like, Dad, shut up. Like, just eat the popcorn and enjoy the movie. And I'm like, I gotta pay y'all bills.
That's right. Well, you know, why the story? Why the script? What drew you in when you read it?
Well, what drew me in, okay, so let's go back to the beginning. So Charles is a really good friend of mine, Charles Murray, who wrote and directed the film. And one day we were having lunch 8 years ago. We're having lunch and we're talking shop, as we like to say. And he tells me this, he pitches me this idea. And I'm like, that sounds incredible. Send me the script.
Right.
If it's fire, let's go. And he's like, I ain't started writing the script yet. And I'm like, then why did you waste my time telling me this great idea? You know? And then but conceptually, what drew me to it was, you know, to examine family, to examine brotherhood, specifically Black brotherhood, to examine morality, to examine the idea of redemption. Because, you know, we all would like to say, oh, if this happened, I'll do this, or if that happened, I'll do that. But no one truly knows what they'll do until the moment is upon them in real time. And that, like, selfishly, in terms of like the character that I play, Marcus, the idea of diving into the abyss of a fractured human being. Like he's literally, in my mind, it looks like a ripped up picture that got taped back together.
Right.
And that's where you meet him. And it's like he's on the precipice of just maintaining his sanity, and then throw a grenade on top of that and let's see what happens, you know? And that's really what kind of drew me to the piece.
You know, what you've just described sounds like a lot of men, Black men in particular, within our culture. And they are in pieces. And they have a grenade pretty much thrown at them regularly.
I'm one of them. Hey, when you say that, but see, there's a flip side to that coin. There's a flip side to that coin that we were intentional about, is that you also get to see this brotherhood loving on themselves, loving on one another, you know, telling each other they love them, you know, see them kissing each other on the forehead and stuff, like imagery that we haven't seen in a long time in Black cinema. And we were very intentful about that and purposeful about that. And that also struck me because obviously you need, you know, all of the conflict and the stuff like that, but also, and as well, even like the dinner scenes, like, you know, usually when you see Black films with, you know, scenes and everybody's eating dinner, it's either a holiday or it's, you know, the aftermath, the repast of the funeral, like something like that. And this was like, no, this is just what they do every week, like, you know, to sort of normalize that.
So what's the ultimate takeaway that you want the viewer to have? What would you like for them to take away with them?
I think for me, it's ultimately about unity, you know, amongst not just family. I mean, that's the exciting part, right? So I'm gonna skip ahead. Like, this is definitely a film for everyone because everyone comes from family and knows how it is to sit around a table and Nana's cooking this and cousin such and such and them is playing cards and uncle such and such just broke open a bottle of dark, so we know it's about to be a fight. And everyone, whatever culture, Latino, Asian, it doesn't matter.
You made it very relatable, right?
We can relate to that, right? And so I think the takeaways are up to the user. That's why we ended the film that way, because a person can, everyone's gonna feel differently, and that's the fun experience about going to some of these screenings. Is like it's a call and response, you know, people yelling at the screen and you know,
I
and
mean,
then at the end of the film, when the credits roll, people are talking, and the conversation is like, man, what, you know, this reminded me of this, da, 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 da. So it's just like this communal, the ultimate race is the human race.
right,
And so
right.
this is a Black family having a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's sort of the takeaway, and kudos to Charles for standing his ground on wanting us as a people, Black and brown people, to be able to tell stories like this. Like when we see other cultures tell stories, Mystic River, the town, like they get to play in all these dynamics as if we're not having the same experiences too.
It's true. It's true. And you helped give a face to the illness called alcoholism. You know, a lot of people, you know, that there's still a person in there. There's still a person that has to work through these problems. So that's what I kind of took away from that. I also took away the fact that, you know, again, family, spirituality was also very prominent within the movie. So you hit on a lot of different topics. Now, Brooklyn Works Films.
Yep.
That's your production company, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was the goal when you started? Was this part of your goal to shed light this way? And where are you in that journey right now as far as trying to reach your goal for Brooklyn Works?
Well, that's a great question, actually. You know, when I did my first film, Juice, I was 17 years old. So I was a puppy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know nothing about nothing. I was just a kid from the hood, you know, and I got a shot to live my dream. I'm inspired by Sidney Poitier and Denzel and Wesley, you know, and I'm just trying to ride that wave. But I'm also seeing Spike Lee, and I'm like, oh, he wrote that and he directed. I've been writing since I was all that, my whole memory. I've been writing, right? But in terms of the actuality of how to, you know, tell stories and learning the business through the years, and everything was happening so fast for me. I think I was like a late bloomer. Let's call it that. You know, I didn't set out like, oh, I've got to take over the world like this. You know, it was just I was happy with what was happening, right? But then as I'm the thing that means one of the things that means the most to me is the power of imagery. And once that started to sink in, and I started to realize my responsibility within that, right? I'm a Black kid from Brooklyn, New York, single parent household, no father in my household. And so when I used to watch Good Times, even though they were pouring into projects and James never got the job, I used to think at least their fathers did, because I don't have that. And then when the Cosby Show came along, I'm like, you know, he's a doctor, she's a lawyer. All the kids are always laughing and happy. There's always food on the table. And I'm like, that was the first time I saw a functional Black family that was happy. And that stuck with me because I was like, oh, it can be done. And so I'm saying that to say, to skip forward to now, the power of imagery that is incumbent upon me to because I realized that my art is going to outlast me. So within that, what am I leaving behind for younger generations to take from, whether they go into the arts or not, but just positive, powerful Black imagery, you know? And so when you talk about Brooklyn Works, that's, you know, and even with my company, I'm not just the quote unquote urban, you know, that's the buzzword they'll use or whatever.
Right, of course.
I've got projects like, you know, that deal with all different types of, it's all about inclusion for me. And for me, it's all about, you know, the characters and the stories and why are we saying? It's like, what's the point of saying? It's like, we all want to make the most money in the world. Like,
of course.
like that, you know, that's, but I don't operate from that space. I operate from the space of, hey, we need to tell this story because it is bringing a light to, you know, women or maybe LGBT or, you know what I mean? Like it's important to these other communities, even though I'm a Black man. It doesn't, none of that matters to me, you know?
Right.
So that's really what we're about with Brooklyn Works. And I'm very, very proud of what we're doing. And even the work that I'm doing and as a budding author, you know, I'm working on my next book and stuff like that. And
hold on now.
Nah, not yet. That's the next conversation now. That's the next
Okay,
conversation.
all
Now,
right. I'll be patient.
there's a person with a rifle standing right here that will shoot me if I say something.
Okay, well, one last question very quickly. Who have you yet to work with that you really just, that you have to work with, that you have your eyes set?
I came real close with Spike a few years back. He had a project that I still think is fire, and I don't know what happened to it, but we were in talks, and I really wanted to do that. And whether it's that or another, I want to work with Spike. I want to work with Denzel. I also want to work with Leonardo DiCaprio. I want to work with Oliver Stone. I want to work. There's so many people, that I can name. I kind of reverse engineer. Like, I don't really have a hit list in that way. I'm just open, because I really do believe in divine poetry. It's just like how everything ends up coming together. It's weird how life works in that. Maybe weird is too strong of a word, but it's interesting how life works in that way, because after the fact, all the math makes sense to you. But when you're in the moment, you're like, why isn't it happening like this?
Synchronicity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just like, I'm willing to go where the universe will take me. And I've learned to just be open,
Be open.
but be open. Like, I'm human. I'm like anybody else. I have, like, I've always wanted to portray Donny Hathaway. People may look strangely at that, but that's I think
that's great. I mean, he's
this Frederick Douglass. There's just so many I could pull, but
layers.
I just try to open myself and say, okay, well, what's the next part of the journey, universe? What are we doing? And
excellent.
I want to devote myself fully to that and exist in the moments. Like, right now is all that matters, because we'll never be able to get this little few minutes that we just spent together back. And that's what's important to me,
Excellent. I feel the energy. I can see that you're very present, and not a lot of people are as present as they should be. So I really do appreciate your time tonight. And
I appreciate your time as well.
I can't wait for the movie to drop. I think everybody's going to love it. Thank you so much.
Yep. Only in AMC theaters, the first run. So come out and support us. AMC theaters.
Yeah. The devil, April 1st.
The devil, Here we go.